thanks everybody for joining me today. On the sit, I want to call it a hot sit. I've got Mosidi today. And I haven't seen Mosidi in a long time, and I'm actually glad I reconnected with her. And thanks to the joys of social media and all these other things that are available these days. So if you're listening to us or following us, please make sure that you continue to share, comment, and give us some feedback on what you think of these conversations that we're having. So Mosidi, hi, how are you?
Mpumi, it's so good to see you. You haven't changed. You still got that beautiful, energetic, happy vibe. I love it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So Mosidi, please introduce yourself before we even start and tell everybody what we are going to be talking about.
Yo, wow, Mosidi Seretlo, former corporate executive, lover of life, a mother to a feisty, almost 9-year-old, living in Joburg, and an entrepreneur, but very interested in mindsets and coaching. A former marketer. I still love marketing. I was an executive at Unilever, SAP, and Vodacom, and I left corporate to go into the uncertain world of entrepreneurism. It has taught me so much, but now I'm looking into a new doors of, coaching or whatever the plan God has for me. I don't know.
I love that, because as we were chatting earlier, that we always have a plan that we've put in place, being strategists and planners that we are. And then that plan just goes out the window because God says, that's not your road for you to take.
And it happens. Clap. And I'm like, but does God hate me? But in the end, it all works out, doesn't it?
It all works out because when you reflect, you know why you were put where you were put at that point in time, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah.
So no, I'm glad to see you again. So I worked with Mosidi at Unilever. Like when we started off, we were still like kids out of varsity back then. But yeah, it's good to see you again. Yeah. So Mosidi, the one thing that I really wanted to talk about, which comes up a lot and which I've also have experienced, but I want us to have a conversation around favoritism in the workplace. I can see you want to hyperventilate.
Yeah, trigger.
No. Anyway, let's deal with the triggers. Let's understand. So let's define it first, Mosidi. What is favoritism? Like, can we just go to the basics? What does that mean?
For me, I can tell you an example where I felt I had a boss and he seemed to like my other colleagues over me. I would always get into trouble for something or the other that I'd apparently done to them. They would go and talk to him behind my back. I was always the black sheep in the family, and I'd always be found wrong. And they seem to get all the perks, higher salary increases, chosen for things. And I'd be like, what's wrong with me? That's the first thing. Is there something wrong with me? I'm not feeling appreciated. I'm not feeling the love. So I felt a pain like a child who would be like, there's stock sweets or sweets and everybody gets a sweet and you don't get. That's what I used to think of favoritism, Puti. Or everybody gets invited to the party and you are not in the party. And that's, for me, that was my definition of favoritism. And it has to talk about it. And I know it's got roots elsewhere, but it felt like my boss did not like me and didn't have time for me. And no matter how much I tried and no matter how much I did hard work, I never felt appreciated.
Wow. I think just hearing that is like, I think I've experienced it, but maybe at a subtle level, not at a level where I think the person doesn't like me, but at a level where it is clear where alliances are. You know what I mean? It is clear that this person has got their ear more than I do, if you get what I mean. And then that for me, it always worried me from a sense of, when it comes to bonus time, am I going to be marked on the basis of, did she deliver or not deliver? Or am I going to get a percentage? Other people are going to get a higher percentage because they are favorites, not just me. You know what? It seems like it takes you back to school, isn't it?
Yeah, it took me back to childhood. Like the teacher's favorite, or even home. We always go, Mama has got a favorite. Let's go there. There's always that little thing, Uguti. I'm not the favorite. I'm not loved. And it always, for me, I had a friend who was my boss's favorite. So she would tell me what she got, her increases and her bonuses. So I knew that I wasn't getting the same as her. And it used to annoy me because the results I produced were better. But I never used to get that bonus that she would get. I'd get a good bonus, but she'd seem to get even extra. And then it seemed I was being rejected for something else. And I was like, what is so wrong with me that this man doesn't like me? I couldn't understand.
But do you think it was really about you, or it was about him?
Bobby, at the time, I thought it was about me. It's only later, like we say, only later do I look back and go, it must have been my own thoughts and beliefs that led me to attract this environment, to attract what was going on. But instead, at the time, it was about him. He was also, funny enough, he was also in a bad place, but he was also being treated badly by his boss. He was not happy. He had been sick. He had a lot of other things that were going on with him. But at that time, I didn't want to hear that. I didn't want to hear that. And I know people are going, hi, man, it's a problem. It's not my problem. Why does he treat me badly? It's only afterwards you think, oh my gosh. In hindsight is good. But at that time,
it's too late.
It's like you're so heavily invested in what is going on with your boss. It's the most hurtful thing. And it takes you to the place of a child. And I still get hurt about it. And that's why I said, let's go for, the favoritism, because it triggered something that I had to learn about myself. And it was part of a healing journey I had to go through to understand, why was I being triggered? Why was I being hurt? Why was I reacting to this guy like I was?
Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes it's so difficult to have to go deal with your inner child, because now you have to go back and you have to look at other things that used to trigger you from that perspective when you were a child. And I think for me, I've always found it difficult, the favoritism thing, because I have always thought that people always liked me. And I always thought, but I was the favorite at home. Manje, what's happening here? And I was the favorite with my teachers. So why do you have issues with me? Like, I don't get that.
I never thought I was the favorite at home. I thought my brother was the favorite, and my mother always denies it. It's not true, but from a child's eye, I was the last born, and my sister says, you were the favorite. I'm like, I wasn't the favorite. The inner child, we make up stories, by the way. We make up stories. And I wanted to go back. Yes, there is an inner child who feels unloved, unlovable. And that's why, as an adult, when somebody does that, it brings back the mind goes back to the file. It brings up your evidence. You see, there's evidence. Nobody loves you. Nobody loves you. Yeah. As a child, I grew up. I was loved, but I felt unlovable. I felt, and I know where it comes from. It came from, my mother was light in complexion, Bumi, and my sisters were also light in complexion. And then was unom dagazan. And you know, during the time of apartheid, everybody was like, but why
why you dark?
Like, why you so dark? And why you so tall and gangly? When your sisters are petite, bamhlope. So to me as a child, it said, you are ugly, you know, you are unlovable. And they always say, you look like your dad. And I hated that. I really hated that because it meant, and I do look like my mom, by the way, it's just that I'm not a yellow bone. That was the trauma.
Yeah.
I'm not a yellow bone. So on that little basis of things, I made up the story that nobody wants me. Nobody loves me. And I could track it back to where it all started culminating. And I remember entering competitions as a child and not winning, and my friend would win. So it backed up the proof. Yeah, what? Nobody wants you. And then I was bullied at high school. Some boys told me how ugly I was. But nobody wants me.
Yeah.
So my boss kind of hit those marks. Because nobody wants you. Nobody loves you. You are unlovable. So that was the issue with me. The inner child was like, oh, but I'm unlovable. And it keeps on showing up in my workplace. You know, I don't matter. And that's what I was looking for. I looked for people to appreciate me. I was looking for outside and external validation. And when it didn't come, the proof would be, you see, you are ugly. You see, you are not lovable.
Wow. And it's amazing how many stories we tell ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And only when you start working on yourself and realizing that these are stories and it's not the truth and it's far from the truth. It's just the stories that we keep telling ourselves. Then it triggers all these other things that we experience as kids, or even the stories we told ourselves when we were kids. So what did you have to do though, Mosidi? How do you deal with this if you're really being faced with it in the workplace?
You know, I think for me, awareness is the first thing you gotta do. At that time, I didn't deal with it. I resigned in a half and a puff. I resigned. I got pregnant. I got tired of feeling like I was doing so much to get love from and attention from that guy. I didn't know what was going on, to be honest with you. I just used to see a lot of these things turn up, even in relationships. It was like there was this thing turning up. I only started doing work on myself. Can you imagine last year, about 13, 14 months ago. And I started doing some courses online. I did a coaching course and I still feel this thing, there's something not quite adding up. Why am I always attracting these scenarios? Why is it that the same thing keeps on coming? It's a different face, but it's the same. It feels familiar.
Yeah.
And I read once, and I can't remember, and I'm not saying it happens to everybody, that victims of abusive relationships have learned this from somewhere. They've come from it from a childhood. Not all will go there, but you probably will come from an abusive home. You'll probably attract an abuser. It's not to say everybody will. If you come from somebody, a financial situation that was lackluster, you probably, not all the time, you'll probably draw similar. We go with what is familiar. And subconsciously, we don't know, our brains store a lot, and we make up these stories. So I only started doing a lot of work. I started doing a coaching course about 5 years ago, but I wasn't getting the answers. I was like, hey man, there's something wrong here. Not with me, but I'm like, there's something wrong. And then I started doing a course when my business was not doing well. I was like, I don't think I'm stupid. I understand.
You're not. I can say that much.
I don't understand why my business is not doing well. I've done everything I can, but something keeps on holding me back. So I took time. I said, you know what? I'm not moving forward. There seems to be blocks in my life that I need to understand. And I started learning about energy and energy blocks and emotions, that we've got emotions that are stuck in our bodies from like a long time. And I was like, what emotion was there? And the answer came from a 7-year-old daughter who kept on asking me, Mama, why are you sad? Mama, why are you sad? And I'm like, but what is it that my child is seeing that I'm not seeing about myself? Because I was happy, I was getting up, I was doing everything for her, but I wasn't living. I was like, I felt stuck. And when I started doing this emotional work, I found that I was sad. I found there was sadness. And the sadness only started coming out when I got asked to leave my job and I lost my father. So what would happen is something would happen. I would shove it in, I'd shoving in. I'd shove the pain down. I wouldn't deal with it. I didn't want to deal with the pain. When my father died, I wanted to cry, but I didn't cry. I cried like, and that was it. And I never dealt with the emotions of, I was asked to to leave a job. I never dealt with the emotions of grief. So I had to go back to the beginning to go, what is going on here? And I found that I was a sad person. I wouldn't call myself depressed, but I was bordering on a depressing of my life of some kind. And the more work I did, I realized we as human beings are about light and love. And when we sway away and move away from lightness and enlightenment and God and kindness, we edge into the deep side of darkness. Yes, and I was in a dark place. I was seriously in a dark place. And when I look back, I found I was looking for love. I just wanted to be loved, and I wanted to matter. I wanted to feel alive. But I was looking for love outside of myself. I was looking for love from my bosses. I was looking for love from failed romantic relationships. I was looking for love everywhere except for me. So my story was, I'm unworthy, I'm unlovable, I'm not good enough. So that was what I was carrying in my body and my mind. And all these scenarios would come. I would only see unlovable moments, unlovable people coming into my thing. And at some point I was a bit angry, but I'd get angry people coming to me. I'm like, why are they so angry? Meanwhile, I was angry. So that's the life I had to make peace with.
Wow. And so what was the process that you went through just to do the healing?
Well, I realized I something wasn't feeling right. I don't know what I can say. It's not from the head, I can tell you. It's like you're going into a place and then you feel something, angazi, intuition.
Yeah.
And you know, when have you gone to a dangerous place and you feel, man, something is not right here.
Yeah.
Do you understand that? I was
Yeah.
like, something is not right. And I started looking back at my life. I went from what worked in my life and what didn't work in my life. And funny enough, I went into my career and I thought, for the first 10 years of my life, my career was amazing. As moving, and I was like, things were happening. What changed from when I was that happy to now? And I realized something shifted. Something shifted. And I was like, what shifted? And I realized when I was in my happiest moment, I was living life without care.
Yeah.
I was living life with trust. I was open. I was opening to receive. I never used to go, yeah, so 20 promotion. Promotion used to come to me.
I know.
I never used to do that. I never used to go, I want a promotion now. And I did it once. And I remember my boss said, you're not ready for a promotion. And I never got it. I was angry for a little bit. And then a year later, I got it. But I never asked for, I never expected anything. I was just having fun. I was open. I was learning. I was in a good heart space. Then the ego came in.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if we're going the right direction. Is this helping?
No. We are because people experience these things from different spaces, and there's no one direction. This is your story and how it's played out for you. So everybody can experience, and there is somebody who might be going through exactly what you're going through, and that for me, that matters. Like that one or two people that will listen to this or go, oh my God, I can relate.
Yeah, so you asked me where the healing journey started. It starts with this thing. There's an internal compass that says, and you ignore it. And it goes, and you ignore it. Then, and then you ignore it. And then, boom, the job. I lost my job and I was angry at God. How could you freaking get me out 2 weeks after my dad has died? You are leaving me cold and out of the job. I was so mad. Kandi, I didn't realize I was so out of my authentic path. So the realization didn't come then, but I look back as like, I don't think God is a cruel God. I'm not sure he's a cruel God. There's something that is happening in my life that I'm not seeing. Because previously, my career and my life were like a job, man. I was like floating. I was like surfing the ocean. Yeah, there would be storms there and there, but it was a smooth path. Why is this one not? Why is this path not as smooth?
Yeah.
And that's when my realization came. And I used to blame God. And that's when my realization came that there was something that I needed to learn. And that time, I thought there's something that is wanting to emerge in me. And I was going to go. Me, I'm curious. I was going to go on the path to find out. So I started a course I did energy healing. I didn't get the answers. I did so many courses. I read so many Oprah books. Oprah. I listened to Oprah, GoCast. I listened to Tony Robinson. I couldn't find the answer. I was like, why are other people successful and I'm not successful? Why is this? And then I did a 21-day meditation with Deepak Chopra. And that unlocked something in me.
Yeah.
That 21 day was the day I thought, yep, there's something in me. I can't put my mind into it. I don't understand it. That was the day it unlocked something in me.
Yeah. It's amazing you talk about meditation, because there's a lot of theory and all sorts of things, but there's something about being still where there's learnings, there's regression, there's all these things, because you're being forced into a space of just quietening your mind. And people, other people, depending what you believe in, there's where they would say, this is the time to listen to what God is saying to you at that point in time. But it's such, I've battled with meditation. I think only now it kind of makes sense in my head. Because you find your mind just like going into different spaces, and trying to quieten it can be such a difficult process.
You can't quieten the mind. I actually learned that from the person I learned this from, because I also battled with meditation. I'm like, my mind is gonna go. And somebody said, listen to what it says to you.
Exactly.
Listen.
Yeah.
And that was the day I started listening to my head, and I started laughing at myself. It's talking such nonsense, right? It would be like, yeah, uzoba broke, ne? Uzoba broke. You don't have a job. Look at you. And then I'm like, but I'm still living. I'm still having 3 days of 3 meals a day. Yes, I'm not living the life that I'd like to live. I don't have $50 million. But let me ask you mine. If I had to have $50 million in the bank, would I be happy? And I realized then my mind is a story. It just is a story. It's not the real me. My mind is picking up things that happened in the past. It's beautiful, the mind. It's a protector. It's trying to protect me from getting hurt. It's trying to do everything that it's supposed to. The mind's role is to protect. We happy. Let me protect you. Let me protect you. Wanna right? No, let me protect you. That's what the mind does. And when we don't listen to the chatter, you don't understand why it's doing this. Because if you sit and ask the mind, why are you doing this? It will tell you, we happy, you're gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
But there's this little voice that the mind will shut down. And that's when you start understanding and unpacking the mind, as it quietens down, that intuition comes up. Slowly, like a muscle. You start listening and it comes a bit stronger. The more the mind quietens down, as the more the heart speaks. They say the heart speaks. God speaks through the heart, you know. Yeah. So when I meditate, I listen to the mind, but there's another quiet voice. Sometimes it doesn't come. For me, I'm not gonna lie, it's the mind dominating. My boss. And then the heart starts talking at 3 a.m. Do you have that?
Yeah.
Do you have like that? Like it comes at 3 a.m. Hello, I love you. You are an amazing human being. Just let things unfold for you. What? And then the mind's like, man, shut up. You know. But at 3 a.m., at 2 a.m., when it's all quiet and everybody's sleeping, that's when God speaks. That's when I started hearing my true godly voice starting to say, things will unfold. Just let them be.
Wow. And I think what fascinates me, Mosidi, is we started off this conversation talking about favoritism in the workplace. But that's why we have these conversations. There's no structure to it, because you want anybody to hear your story, and sometimes there isn't. If you're not being favored at work, you need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sometimes there isn't a checklist. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it boils down to you dealing with you and asking yourself, why am I attracting what I'm attracting? What is this about? What am I supposed to learn? And this is what I'm taking out of this conversation.
Absolutely. Like I said, I'm sure we're going to meander. I think for me, things happen for a reason. And the favoritism of my boss to other people was a communication about me, about the stories I was telling myself. And I was perfectly attracting that situation because of what I was feeling. I was feeling insecure. I was feeling out of alignment of myself. I didn't love myself. I was sad. I was in such a dark place at that moment. And that's why I'm saying that sometimes we think these bad things, we label them as bad, they're for us.
Mm-hmm.
So the favoritism was a message. But I didn't see it as a message. Getting out of work was a message. Whatever happens that is bad, and I'm labeling it as bad, it's not bad. It's for the good of you. It's for us to learn. You know, I was thinking about it as I was thinking about our conversation. You know, children, they don't label falling when they're starting to walk as bad. They fall. So a boss who has favoritism is like a lesson for you. What's going on here? What does God want me to learn? Or what is it that I'm supposed to learn? The question why will never give you an answer. But the question is, what's going on here? What lesson am I meant to learn from my boss's favoritism? Comes up with different answers.
Yeah.
The second thing I wanted to say is I was a victim. I was such a victim. Pella, I was like, no, really? That's a story. I was a victim. I was telling myself I'm powerless. I was telling myself I had no choice. Everybody has got an inner power. Everybody has got a choice. Everybody can turn a situation around if you turn your mindset around. What if I just said, it has to be about him, it's not about me, like you said at the beginning. What if I just said, it's not going to matter in 20 years. I'm going to forget about him. What if I said, maybe there's a lesson I need to learn here? Then it would have turned the situation around. It would have made my life a little bit more manageable, less emotional than it was. And I could have made the choice to say, this is more about me learning something here rather than me being a victim.
Yeah. No, I think it's a very fascinating conversation because a lot of people go through workplace bullying and all these other things and feel like they are victims and everything else. But I think what you're saying is very important to say, if you're still there and you still have to wake up and go there on a daily basis, the questions become, how can you change your mind to be able to survive that situation or to be able to survive that space? Because you're choosing to be there at that point in time. If it gets to a point where you then you lose your job like you did, that's a different conversation. But whilst you wake up and at 8 o'clock you're expected to be there, how do you change your mind not to be a victim?
Yeah, and I mean, for me, it's not even to survive. It's thrive. Let
Yeah.
me thrive. And I think human beings think, I'm an adult, I've stopped growing. And as human, we're here to grow, to learn, to grow. Our cells, our bodies, they grow until, I don't know, until we're how old. We're about growth. Everything in the universe, everything is about growth. There's no one human being who stops growing. When you stop growing, you die. And you know how growth comes? It comes from uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
So that growth of being a boss who had favorites was an uncomfortable situation. I expected my boss to love me. I wanted my boss to be fair to me. It wasn't. I can't change my boss. He's comes from a different environment. I couldn't make him love me. But the growth out of that I came out of was, I can't expect that guy to love me, but I can surely love myself. And there's always a lesson, and I've noticed this. I've been thrown in like winds of change. They've come, there's been thunderstorms in my life.
Yeah.
But those thunderstorms are meant to wake you up. Those thunderstorms or that situation is going to keep on going and going and going until you learn the lesson. Yeah. Learn the lesson of what that situation is telling you, then you get over it. It's going to go. It's going to just go. And then the next lesson will come. Then you learn the lesson. Then things move. Life is supposed to move like a river, flowing. But it flows. Life flows. Yeah. Whenever it doesn't flow, whenever it feels stuck, it's a lesson. Whenever there's a boss who's playing favoritism, don't go, it's because I'm black. No, because I'm female. No, because I'm not yellow. No. Think, feel, what's going on here? What lesson am I supposed to learn about myself and about the situation?
Mosidi, it's easy to blame race, to blame age, to blame gender. Like that's an easy space to go to, you know?
Such an easy space to go to. And what happens? It keeps on coming back. And it keeps on coming. It keeps on coming back.
It's just because I'm the only black female in the...
Yeah, I'm the only black female. I know I'm the only female. That was my favorite. It's because I'm the only female. They don't like me. I'm the only female. Do I like myself? If they don't like me, do I like myself?
Why am I attracted? And when you think about it, Mosidi, if you liked yourself, you actually wouldn't care what he thinks about you, to be honest.
Absolutely. Yeah. I wouldn't care what he thought. I would be like, no, it is him. I'd be laughing at him. I'd make the choice of laughing at me. But because I didn't feel good about myself, because I didn't think I mattered, because I didn't love myself, because I thought, hello, he hates me because I'm ugly. I don't know. When I made up stories, and then I go, at one point, I was like, it's because I'm the only black female. Then my friend is also another black female. So that didn't make sense now. So then I was like, he hates me because I'm fat. But the mind will always give you stories.
Yeah. So for anybody who's been hearing us in City, what is just one or two things that you want them to take out of this conversation?
Life is beautiful. Life is beautiful. The lens in which you look at life, you can look at lens through the abundance or through scarcity. If you look at life and say, I have everything, that's what turns up in your life. If you look at life through scarcity, I don't have, that's what turns out in your life.
Yeah.
Open your heart to receiving messages. Instead of looking at things and say they're bad, ask yourself, what's the lesson I need to learn about the situation? And usually the lesson will stop, the challenge will stop coming when you know the lesson. Learn to know the lesson. And I know I've spoken a lot of things, but you are growing as a person. You are growing. And as you grow, more challenges come. It's about growth. Embrace the uncertainty. Embrace the growth.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for the time. So where do people find you on social media these days?
You know what? I'm trying to, I find the social media scene a little bit scary sometimes. I'm on LinkedIn most of the time, but LinkedIn has changed a bit for me as well. So I'm a little bit less there. I'm on Instagram, not on I've got a motivational quote page called Phenomenal Woman Mosidi. But I'm working on a new thing, and I'll let you know what I'm working on when it's in fruition. But you can find me on LinkedIn under Mosidi Seretlo.
Yeah, but no, I think on LinkedIn you might have slowed down, but you are quite active, and I think what I love about it, Mosidi, you bring the vulnerability. Because as professionals, we always think you need to be strong, you need to be seen to be like this perfect person, but you are just real and you bring the vulnerability of the things you've gone through. The fact that you are having this conversation and around what you thought of yourself, and I really applaud that. And thank you for the time.
Yeah, thank you for me. I mean, I don't care what people think. I mean, I do care what my mother thinks, but the most important person in my life is me and my relationship with myself. And loving yourself is proof that you are born to be loved. You are loved. You are an amazing human being. And God is about love. When we don't love ourselves, then things fall apart. And I'm here to talk and openly about my truth. Not everybody will like it, but you know what? I like it anyway.
It's your truth. Who cares?
Yeah, it's my truth.
Yeah, it's your truth and it's your life. So I really thank you for the time. Thank you.